All right, Adam Kornblum joins us next. We'll round out the hour talking about what's on TV tonight, so make sure you go thebobbydshow.com. Our next guest is the man behind the game, Who's Got Game, and I'm excited for him to tell you about this game because this is a very interesting game, and I think it's a fun game to play with the opposite sex, but I'll let him describe it to you. Please welcome to the program, Adam Kornblum. Adam, good morning, and how are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show, and very interesting game you've got here. Tell us a little bit of background about this game and what the game's all about.
Sure. Well, I'm not sure if you've heard of Neil Strauss. He's a 7-time New York Times bestselling author. He's the author of the international bestselling book called The Game. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of a pickup artist book. It became very famous. He was on the Jimmy Kimmel, The View, Carson Daly for it. So I kind of created this game, and initially I created it to kind of cure my own shyness with women. Because at the time I had a board game before this, and I sold it to Hasbro. So I was driving up to Hasbro one day thinking, okay, I sold the game to Hasbro. Now it's time to try to sell myself better to women. So I figured, what can I do to kind of, what's my crush? So I decided I was going to create a game. At the time I really didn't have the game, nor was I really talking to Neil. So I created this game in my mind with a few pieces of paper, started kind of running this game on people, and everyone loved it. They loved the game. They asked for copies. So I contacted Neil on Facebook, and with it 2 years later, we're collaborating. We kind of launched this game called Who's Got Game. It's a party game, and inside of it, there's personality tests, handwriting analysis, palm reading, loaded questions, cool physical challenges, secret conspiracy missions from Neil. So you're kind of doing all this inside a party game within 15, 20 minutes. It's a cool way to really connect with people, to learn about people, and kind of do things that you may not ordinarily do. Just kind of get you out of that comfort zone a little bit. Because if a card says massage your partner's back, and they'll score you on a scale from 2 to 5 points, typically you probably wouldn't walk up to somebody you're hanging out with for a little bit and go, hey, can I massage your back? Well, you could, but that really depends on your game.
Yeah,
now this was just
that might come off kind of creepy if you were just walking up to people like, hey, can I massage your back a little bit real quick?
True, yeah. So, if you're playing with someone for a little bit, or you're chatting with someone, or you're, hanging out with someone for, maybe a few dates or what have you, it's a cool way to kind of, break out this game and go, okay, you want to try something really cool, and a card may say, here's a personality test, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? And here's what it means about you. But if it's a physical challenge, like the massaging, it just kind of gives you an excuse to go, hey, well, the card said to do it. It's not, over the top, but it's just something to get people physically touching each other.
And when you play the game, what's the optimal number of people that should be playing the game? In your eyes.
I would say anywhere between 4 to 8 players, because you do team up with somebody. Although the scoring is it's based on only one person can win, but you do team up with somebody. So during the game, it will tell you to either face off against them, to play with them, or you're kind of doing something solo.
And so, you said that you and Neil collaborated on this. How long does the process go from the time that you write that idea down on a piece of paper before you're actually looking at a produced copy of your game?
It's a funny question, because I've actually been thinking about this, because I have a few other things in the works. And it seems like 2 years seems like the solid number. It took me 2 years for my first game to go from conception to selling it to Hasbro and getting on the shelves. And this one kind of, I mentioned, I teamed up with Neil. It seems to have taken about 2 years to really get everything together.
And is this what you do? Is this your full-time job, is creating games?
Yeah, I did moonlight at a PR agency for a while. But yeah, this is what I kind of do. So it's a good time. It's fun.
I can imagine so. What a great job. I think most people would love to have that job. I can imagine if no ideas are flowing, it can be a little frustrating. But for the most part, that's got to be a pretty cool gig.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of it just kind of comes from just looking around and seeing, what people enjoy. And I do a lot of reading, so that's actually how I kind of initially developed the concept. I was also reading the game and body language books and handwriting analysis books, and I just enjoyed it so much where I was kind of, I would go out to dinner with a group of people, and just be like, hey guys, why don't you try this? Everybody write down a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you see if you can guess who the most sexual player is in the room. And then everybody would write it down, they would guess who it is, and before you know it, I had like a game going on and didn't even realize it. So it's just kind of how I think and how I kind of interact with people in general. So as long as I have something to talk about, it's kind of like a game. And
when you were growing up, I mean, is this something that you always wanted to do? You were like, man, I'm going to make games when I get older. That's just what I'm going to do.
No, I actually didn't even think much of it. I was about like 9 years old. I had a credit card to Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
Let it go. No one really paid much attention to it. I was a senior in college, and I was hanging out with this girl, and I went to meet her dad, and he was some big accountant. So I said to him, I had a credit card to Monopoly when I was 9 to try to impress him. And he's like, oh, that's a really great idea. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to ask a few other people if they think it's a good idea. And if they do, I'll take it from there. So I kind of, I was senior in college, and I started kind of taking my, seeing if I can really do something with this. And that summer I called the CEO of American Express, and they actually took my call. Mm-hmm. So I kind of said, Mom, I'm not going to law school.
Wow.
I was supposed to go to law school the following year. Yeah. So I kind of developed this game, but initially, it was more of a business proposal. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what schools tells you to do. Mm-hmm. So it took a little bit to kind of figure out what it was I had to do.
Very interesting. That's a very interesting story. Just calling up the CEO, like you said, most times your call's not going to get taken. So that's a pretty neat story right there.
Well, exactly. Yeah, they don't usually take your calls. Mm-hmm. So, and after I really learned this, I decided I was going to create my own billionaire and put them on Facebook. This is a few years ago, so MySpace was still kind of big at the time. Mm-hmm. And I put them all over the internet. So I had this fake billionaire, and I would cold call people and say I'm calling on behalf of billionaire Charlie Large. So people usually took the call.
That's
or at least they called back,
That's hilarious. That's great. I like that. That's a great idea. That's a good way to work it.
Everybody wants to talk to a billionaire or talk to someone who knows a billionaire. So, I figured who doesn't want to be a billionaire? You might as well, if you can't beat one, you might as well create one. It was a cartoon too. And he got really popular on Facebook, and the CEO of Hasbro heard of this billionaire coming out with this new credit card board game called Charge Large at the time. Mm-hmm. And he reached out on Facebook, and that's actually how Hasbro acquired the first game.
And did anybody get mad when they called and found out that our billionaire wasn't really a billionaire? It's a touchy subject, but I feel like at the time I was 25 years old, trying to create a new game. Everyone was actually pretty understanding that it was a kid just trying to make it. Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, it was a harmless thing. It wasn't like it was a prank. It was more of like, listen, this really is a cool idea. Because it was at the time I was taking Monopoly and adding like American Express to it, like a gold, platinum, black card system. So it actually was like a fun idea, and it worked well for the times. So once people heard the idea that I was trying to save the credit crisis, years back, it obviously didn't work. But they went with it. So
very cool, man. And Adam, where can we pick up the game at?
You can pick it up in Barnes & Noble, nationwide, and on Amazon, as well as on our website, NeilStraussPartyGame.com.
NeilStraussPartyGame.com. All right. Do you have your own website that people can check out?
Yeah, it's NeilStraussPartyGame.com. It's our website.
Perfect.
Check it out and buy it on there. But you can also purchase it on BarnesandNoble.com, at the stores, and on Amazon.
Perfect, man. We'll put a link up on our website to that. And we thank you for coming on the show and talking with us this morning, Adam.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks so much. Again, you got to run out and check out this game. It's a very cool game. The name of the game is Who's Got Game? And we'll put a link on our website to link you to their website so that you can pick that up. Very cool. Make sure you check that out. We have more coming your way, so make sure you stay right here. This is The Bobby D Show.
Who are we?
You're listening to The Bobby D Show.
How do you know my name?
I'm very good.
Now, welcome back to the show.
We are